Colonel Sarah Martinez stood in the Tactical Operations Center, her weathered hands gripping the edge of the metal table as radio chatter filled the air around her. 23 years in the Air Force had taught her to read situations quickly, and right now, everything about this mission felt wrong. The morning briefing had seemed straightforward enough. Extract a downed reconnaissance team from hostile territory, provide close air support, and get everyone home safely. Simple on paper, deadly in practice. The reconnaissance team, call sign Viper 6, had been conducting surveillance on enemy positions near the border when their vehicle hit an improvised explosive device. 3 soldiers wounded, 1 critically, and they were pinned down in a narrow valley with enemy forces closing in from 3 sides. The team leader's voice crackled through the radio, calm despite the circumstances, requesting immediate air support and medical evacuation. Martinez had been coordinating air support missions for over a decade, first as a captain, then as a major, and now as a full colonel. She had earned her reputation by getting pilots home alive and completing missions that others deemed impossible. Her philosophy was simple: adapt, improvise, and never leave anyone behind. The pilots under her command trusted her judgment implicitly, and she had never given them reason to doubt her decisions. The original plan called for a flight of 4 F-16 Fighting Falcons to provide initial air support, followed by a pair of Apache helicopters for close escort during the extraction. The F-16s were fast, maneuverable, and could reach the area in 12 minutes from their current position. The problem was that 12 minutes might as well be 12 hours when your people were taking heavy fire and bleeding out in a hostile valley. Lieutenant Colonel James Webb, her deputy operations officer, approached with a concerned expression. Webb had been her second-in-command for 18 months, and she respected his tactical knowledge and attention to detail. He was the type of officer who questioned plans not out of insubordination, but out of genuine concern for mission success and personnel safety. "Colonel, we've got a problem with the F-16 flight," Webb reported, his voice steady but urgent. "Lead aircraft is showing engine temperature warnings, and they're aborting back to base. The remaining 3 birds can still make the mission, but they're requesting a maintenance check before proceeding. That's going to add another 15 minutes to our timeline." Martinez felt her jaw tighten. 15 minutes was an eternity when soldiers were under fire. She turned to the communications specialist, Staff Sergeant Rodriguez, who had been monitoring multiple radio frequencies simultaneously. Rodriguez was one of the best radio operators she had ever worked with, capable of tracking 6 different conversations while maintaining perfect clarity on priority transmissions. "Rodriguez, what's the latest from Viper 6? She asked. "Ma'am, they're reporting increased enemy activity. Looks like at least a full squad moving down from the ridgeline, and they're taking accurate small arms fire from the east. Team Medics says their wounded soldier needs immediate evacuation or—" Rodriguez paused, his professional composure slipping slightly. "Or they're going to lose him, ma'am." Martinez closed her eyes for a moment, processing the tactical situation. Every option carried significant risk. Wait for the F-16s to complete their maintenance checks, and the reconnaissance team might not survive. Rush the F-16s to the target area with potential mechanical problems, and she might lose pilots and aircraft. Request alternative air support from neighboring units, and the response time could be even longer. The tactical display showed friendly and enemy positions based on the latest intelligence reports. The valley where Viper 6 was trapped formed a natural funnel, with steep ridgelines on both sides and limited escape routes. Enemy forces were using the terrain to their advantage, positioning themselves to control the high ground while advancing on the pinned-down Americans. It was a textbook ambush scenario, and the enemy was executing it perfectly. "Ma'am," called out Captain Lisa Chen, the intelligence officer on duty. Chen was relatively new to the unit, but had quickly proven her worth with thorough analysis and accurate threat assessments. "I'm showing additional enemy movement from satellite feeds. Looks like they're bringing up heavy weapons, possibly mortars or rocket-propelled grenades. If they get those into position, our people won't have any cover. Martinez studied the satellite imagery on Chen's screen. The enemy was indeed moving methodically, using established firing positions and coordinated movement patterns that suggested professional military training rather than insurgent tactics. This wasn't a random encounter. It was a well-planned operation designed to eliminate American reconnaissance capabilities in the region. The radio crackled again with Viper 6's voice. Any station, this is Viper 6. We need immediate air support, taking heavy fire from multiple directions. 1 urgent surgical, 2 routine medical. Request immediate case vac and close air support. How copy over? Martinez grabbed the microphone. Viper 6, this is Red Crown. I copy your transmission. Air support is en route. Maintain your position and mark your location with smoke when you hear aircraft approaching. We're going to get you out of there. She set down the microphone and turned to Webb. What other assets do we have available? Anything that can reach them faster than the F-16s? Webb consulted his status board, running through available aircraft and their current locations. We've got 2 A-10 Thunderbolts conducting training exercises about 40 miles northeast of the target area. They could be on station in 8 minutes, but they're not configured for this type of mission. They've got practice ammunition loaded for their training run. Practice ammunition? Martinez repeated, her mind racing through the implications. 8 A-10 Thunderbolts were designed specifically for close air support missions, with heavy armor protection and devastating firepower. The aircraft's 30mm GAU-8 cannon could tear through enemy positions with surgical precision, and its ability to operate at low altitudes made it ideal for supporting troops in contact. However, practice ammunition meant reduced lethality and limited effectiveness against hardened targets. Yes, ma'am, Webb confirmed. Training rounds for the cannon, and they're carrying inert ordnance on the wing pylons. Not exactly what we need for a troops-in-contact situation. Martinez walked to the large tactical map mounted on the wall, studying the geography and timing factors. The A-10s could reach the area quickly, but their reduced firepower might not be sufficient to break up the enemy attack. The F-16s had full combat loads, but would arrive after the situation might already be decided. It was a classic military dilemma. Speed versus capability. The radio chattered with updates from other units in the area. A pair of Marine Corps helicopters was conducting operations 60 miles to the south, but they were already committed to supporting their own ground units. An Air Force refueling tanker was orbiting nearby, but it carried no weapons and could only provide limited intelligence support. The nearest Navy assets were over 200 miles away, far too distant to affect the current situation. Colonel, Rodriguez called out, Viper 6 is reporting enemy forces moving to within 200 meters of their position. They're requesting permission to displace to alternate position. Martinez knew that moving the wounded soldier could prove fatal, but staying in position with enemy forces closing in was equally dangerous. The team leader was facing impossible choices, just as she was. The difference was that her decisions would affect not only the reconnaissance team, but also the air crews she might send into harm's way. Captain Chen approached with updated intelligence. Ma'am, I'm tracking additional enemy reinforcements moving toward the area. Looks like they're trying to completely surround our people before we can extract them. This is turning into a much larger operation than we initially assessed. How much larger? Martinez asked. Based on movement patterns and communications intercepts, I estimate at least company strength, possibly more. They're bringing up heavy weapons and appear to be positioning for a coordinated assault. This isn't just an opportunistic attack on a damaged vehicle. They planned this operation specifically to target our reconnaissance capabilities. The tactical situation was deteriorating rapidly. What had begun as a simple extraction mission was becoming a significant engagement against a well-organized enemy force. Martinez had faced similar situations before, but the stakes never became easier to handle. Every decision carried life or death consequences for American service members who had volunteered to serve their country in dangerous places. Webb returned from consulting with the A-10 flight leader. "Ma'am, I spoke with Captain Morrison, the A-10 flight lead. She says they can be on station in 6 minutes now, and they're willing to make gun runs with practice ammunition if necessary." Morrison says the psychological effect alone might be enough to break up the enemy attack, even without full lethality. Martinez considered the option. A-10 pilots were among the most experienced and skilled close air support specialists in the military. They trained constantly for exactly this type of mission, working in close coordination with ground forces to provide precise, effective fire support. Captain Morrison had flown over 200 combat missions and had never lost a soldier under her protection. The sound of urgent voices filled the operations center as various staff members coordinated with higher headquarters, medical units, and logistical support elements. Everyone understood the gravity of the situation, and the professional competence of her team gave Martinez confidence that they would execute whatever plan she decided upon. "Rodriguez, get me Captain Morrison on the radio," Martinez ordered. "Yes, ma'am, stand by." Rodriguez worked his radio controls with practiced efficiency. "Red Crown, I have Hawkeye 11 on frequency 237.75. Martinez took the microphone and switched to the A-10 flight frequency. "Hawkeye 11, this is Red Crown. What's your current status and configuration?" Captain Morrison's voice came through clearly, steady and professional despite the urgency of the situation. "Red Crown, Hawkeye 11, flight of 2 A-10s currently carrying training loads. 30mm training ammunition, approximately 800 rounds per aircraft. Wing-mounted inert ordnance. No live weapons. We can be on station your location in 5 minutes. Request target information and rules of engagement." "Hawkeye 11, we have friendly forces in contact with superior enemy numbers. Troops are pinned down in a valley with limited cover and 1 urgent medical. Enemy forces are closing from multiple directions with heavy weapons. Can you provide close air support with your current configuration?" There was a brief pause before Morrison responded. "Red Crown, affirm. Training rounds will still create significant blast and fragmentation effects. We can make low passes to suppress enemy movement and provide psychological pressure. Not optimal, but better than nothing. We're ready to support." Martinez felt a mixture of relief and continued concern. The A-10s could provide some support, but she wasn't certain it would be enough to decisively change the tactical situation. Still, it was better than leaving Viper 6 to face the enemy assault without any air support. "Hawkeye 11, proceed to grid coordinates." Martinez read off the target location and provided details about friendly and enemy positions. "Viper 6 will mark their position with colored smoke when you arrive on station. Be advised, enemy forces are within 200 meters of friendly positions, so accuracy will be critical." "Red Crown, Hawkeye 11 copies all. Proceeding to target area now. Will coordinate directly with Viper 6 for final attack clearance. Estimate time on station in 4 minutes. Martinez set down the microphone and turned to address her staff. "All right, people. We've got A-10s inbound with limited combat capability. I want continuous monitoring of the tactical situation and be ready to coordinate additional support as it becomes available. This situation is fluid, and we need to be prepared for rapid changes." The next few minutes would determine whether her decision to send the A-10s had been correct, or whether she had sent 2 more air crews into an impossible situation. Martinez had made similar choices throughout her career, but the weight of responsibility never diminished. She stood quietly in the operations center, listening to radio reports and watching the tactical displays, knowing that somewhere in a hostile valley, American soldiers were depending on her judgment to bring them home alive. The radio crackled with Viper 6's voice. Any air support, this is Viper 6. Enemy forces are advancing on our position. We need immediate assistance." Martinez picked up the microphone one more time. "Viper 6, this is Red Crown. Air support is 2 minutes out. Maintain your position and prepare to mark your location. Help is coming. She could only hope that help would arrive in time, and that her decision to send the A-10s would prove sufficient to turn the tide of battle. In 2 minutes, she would learn whether her gamble had paid off, or whether she would need to find another way to save the lives of the soldiers trapped in the valley below. Colonel Martinez watched the tactical display as 2 blue symbols representing the A-10 Thunderbolts moved steadily toward the target area. Captain Morrison's flight was maintaining radio discipline, providing brief position updates every 30 seconds while approaching the valley where Viper 6 remained pinned down. The professional efficiency of the air support coordination gave Martinez some comfort, but she knew that the next few minutes would determine whether her decision had been correct. "Red Crown, this is Hawkeye 1-1, Morrison's voice came through the radio. "We have visual contact with the valley. Can see smoke rising from multiple locations. Requesting immediate contact with ground forces for target identification." Rodriguez immediately switched to the ground frequency. "Viper 6, this is Red Crown. Air support is on station. Prepare to mark your position with colored smoke and provide target information to Hawkeye Flight." The response came quickly, with background sounds of automatic weapons fire clearly audible. "Red Crown, Viper 6. Marking our position with red smoke now. Enemy positions are approximately 150 meters northeast and 200 meters southeast of our location. We're in a small depression behind 2 large boulders. Enemy forces are advancing from multiple directions." Captain Chen looked up from her intelligence workstation with concern. "Colonel, I'm getting reports of additional enemy movement. Looks like they're trying to cut off any escape routes while the air support is engaged. This is definitely a planned operation." Martinez felt her stomach tighten. A planned operation meant that the enemy had specifically targeted American reconnaissance capabilities, and they had chosen this location and timing for maximum advantage. It also meant that they likely had contingency plans for dealing with air support, including possible anti-aircraft weapons that hadn't yet been identified. "Hawkeye 1-1, this is Red Crown," Martinez called over the radio. "Be advised that this appears to be a planned enemy operation. Recommend extreme caution for possible anti-aircraft threats." "Red Crown, Hawkeye 1-1 copies. We'll keep our eyes open. Beginning our attack run now." Martinez listened as Morrison coordinated directly with Viper 6 for the first gun run. The A-10's 30mm GAU-8 cannon was one of the most feared weapons in close air support, capable of firing nearly 4,000 rounds per minute with devastating accuracy. Even with training ammunition, the psychological effect on enemy forces would be significant. And the reduced lethality rounds would still cause casualties and suppress enemy movement. "Viper 6, Hawkeye 1-1 is inbound from the west. Can you confirm all friendly personnel are behind the red smoke marker?" "Hawkeye 1-1, all friendlies are secure behind red smoke. You are cleared hot on targets northeast and southeast of our position." The distinctive sound of the A-10's cannon came through the radio as Morrison made her first gun run. The GAU-8's unique firing signature was unmistakable, a deep, sustained roar that could be heard for miles. Even over the radio, the sound was impressive and intimidating. Good hits, came the excited voice of Viper 6's team leader. "Enemy forces are breaking contact from the northeastern position. We can see them withdrawing to the ridge line." Martinez felt a surge of relief. Morrison's attack was having the desired effect, forcing enemy forces to abandon their close positions and reducing the immediate threat to the reconnaissance team. However, she knew that the respite would likely be temporary. Professional enemy forces would regroup and adapt their tactics, possibly bringing up heavier weapons to counter the air threat. "Hawkeye 1-2 is beginning second attack run," came Morrison's wingman's voice. Lieutenant Colonel David Park was flying the second A-10, an experienced pilot with over 15 years in close air support operations. Park had earned his reputation for precision and calm decision-making under pressure. The second gun run produced similar results. with enemy forces withdrawing from their southeastern positions. The immediate pressure on Viper 6 was reduced, but Martinez knew that the tactical situation remained dangerous. The enemy had demonstrated superior numbers and coordination, and they would likely attempt to counter the air support with anti-aircraft weapons or by waiting for the A-10s to exhaust their ammunition. Red Crown, this is Hawkeye 1-1, Morrison reported. We've suppressed immediate threats to the ground team, but we're observing enemy regrouping on the surrounding ridge lines. They appear to be setting up what looks like heavy weapons positions. Recommend immediate extraction of ground forces. Webb approached Martinez with updated information from higher headquarters. Colonel, I've been coordinating with the Rescue Coordination Center. They're dispatching 2 Black Hawk helicopters for medical evacuation, but they won't arrive for another 20 minutes. The F-16s have completed their maintenance checks and are airborne, but they're still 15 minutes out. 20 minutes was an eternity in a tactical situation like this one. The enemy forces were regrouping and positioning heavier weapons, while the A-10s had limited ammunition and would soon need to return to base for refueling and rearming. Martinez needed to find a way to maintain air support coverage until the extraction helicopters arrived and the additional fighter aircraft could take over the mission. Rodriguez, get me a direct line to Captain Morrison, Martinez ordered. Yes, ma'am. Hawkeye 1-1 is standing by on tactical frequency. Martinez took the microphone. Hawkeye 1-1, this is Red Crown, actual. What's your current ammunition status? Red Crown, Hawkeye 1-1. We've expended approximately 40% of our cannon ammunition on the first 2 attack runs. Estimate we can make 4 more effective gun runs before reaching minimum fuel and ammunition requirements for safe return to base. 4 more gun runs might not be sufficient to maintain suppression until the extraction helicopters arrived. Martinez needed additional options, and she needed them quickly. The enemy forces were demonstrating tactical discipline and coordination that suggested professional military training, not irregular insurgent tactics. They would adapt to the air threat and develop countermeasures. Captain Chen approached with new intelligence information. Colonel, we're intercepting enemy communications. They're definitely coordinating a planned response to our air support. I'm hearing references to surface-to-air preparations, which suggests they may have portable anti-aircraft missiles. The threat of surface-to-air missiles changed everything. A-10 aircraft were heavily armored and designed to survive ground fire, but they remained vulnerable to guided missiles. If the enemy had shoulder-fired anti-aircraft weapons, the tactical equation shifted dramatically in their favor. Hawkeye 1-1, this is Red Crown, Martinez called urgently. Be advised, intelligence indicates possible enemy surface-to-air missile threat. Recommend increased altitude and caution with low-level passes. Red Crown, Hawkeye 1-1 copies missile threat. We'll adjust our tactics accordingly. But higher altitude will reduce our accuracy for close air support. Martinez understood the dilemma. Higher altitude would improve aircraft survivability, but reduce the effectiveness of close air support, potentially leaving Viper 6 vulnerable to renewed enemy assault. Lower altitude provided better support to the ground forces, but exposed the aircraft to greater risk from both small arms fire and potential missile attack. The radio crackled with a new transmission from Viper 6. Red Crown, Viper 6. Enemy forces are moving back toward our position. Looks like they're trying to get close enough that the aircraft can't engage without risk to friendlies. We need continuous air support to keep them back. The enemy was adapting their tactics exactly as Martinez had feared. By moving close to the American positions, they could limit the effectiveness of air support and potentially force the reconnaissance team into close combat where superior enemy numbers would prove decisive. It was a textbook counter-air support tactic, and it was being executed with professional competence. Webb returned from coordinating with logistics elements. Colonel, I've been checking on additional air support options. There's an AC-130 gunship conducting operations about 80 miles south, but it's committed to supporting a special operations mission. Naval air support from the carrier group is available, but response time would be over an hour. An hour was far too long. The immediate tactical situation required continuous air support for the next 30 minutes until extraction helicopters could reach the area. Martinez needed to find a way to maintain coverage with the assets she had available. Rodriguez, patch me through to higher headquarters. I need to speak with General Peterson immediately. Yes, ma'am. Stand by for General Peterson. Brigadier General Robert Peterson was the wing commander, a veteran pilot with over 30 years of experience in tactical aviation. He had flown combat missions in 3 different conflicts and understood the complexities of close air support operations. More importantly, he trusted Martinez's judgment and would support her tactical decisions. Sarah, this is General Peterson. I've been monitoring your situation. What do you need? Martinez outlined the tactical situation, the enemy's adaptive response, and the timing challenges with extraction support. Peterson listened without interruption, processing the information and considering available options. Sarah, I'm authorizing emergency tasking of 2 additional A10s from the training squadron. They're currently armed with full combat loads for live fire exercises. I can have them airborne in 8 minutes, on station in 18 minutes. That should give you overlapping coverage until the extraction helicopters arrive. The news brought immediate relief, but Martinez realized that 18 minutes was still a significant gap in coverage. Morrison's flight would be approaching minimum fuel and ammunition well before the additional A10s arrived on station. The timing would require perfect coordination and probably some calculated risks. General, understood. I'll coordinate the handoff between flights and maintain continuous coverage. Thank you for the additional support. Sarah, you've got full authority to manage this situation as you see fit. Bring our people home. Martinez set down the secure phone and immediately began coordinating the complex air support timeline. She needed Morrison's flight to stretch their fuel and ammunition as long as possible while maintaining effective suppression of enemy forces. The additional A10s would arrive just as Morrison's aircraft reached critical fuel levels, requiring a seamless handoff of responsibility in a high-threat environment. Hawkeye 1-1, this is Red Crown, Martinez called. Additional air support is en route. I need you to maintain continuous pressure on enemy positions for the next 15 minutes. Can you stretch your fuel and ammunition to cover that timeline? Morrison's response was immediate and confident. Red Crown, Hawkeye 1-1. We can make it work. We'll adjust our attack patterns to maximize effectiveness while conserving ammunition. No problem. The casual confidence in Morrison's voice reminded Martinez why she trusted A10 pilots above all others for close air support missions. They were trained specifically for this type of high-pressure situation, and they had the experience and skill to adapt their tactics in real time to meet mission requirements. Viper 6, this is Red Crown. Martinez continued her coordination efforts. Additional air support is en route. Maintain your position and continue marking targets for the aircraft. We're going to maintain continuous coverage until extraction arrives. Red Crown, Viper 6 copies. We're prepared to hold our position. Our wounded soldier is stable for now, but he needs definitive medical care as soon as possible. The wounded soldier added another time pressure to an already complex situation. Military medicine had made remarkable advances, and field medics could stabilize serious injuries for extended periods, but there were limits to what could be accomplished without surgical intervention. Every minute of delay reduced the wounded soldier's chances of full recovery. Captain Chen approached with additional intelligence updates. Colonel, the enemy is bringing up what appears to be a technical vehicle with a heavy machine gun. If they get that into position on the eastern ridgeline, it could threaten both our ground forces and the aircraft providing support. A technical vehicle with a heavy machine gun represented a significant escalation in enemy capabilities. The 50 caliber or 14.5 mm weapons typically mounted on such vehicles could engage aircraft at medium altitudes and pose a serious threat to helicopters attempting to conduct medical evacuation. Martinez needed Morrison's flight to eliminate that threat before it became operational. Hawkeye 1-1, this is Red Crown. We have a new priority target. Enemy technical with heavy weapon moving to eastern ridgeline. Grid coordinates follow. Martinez read off the precise location provided by Chen's intelligence analysis. Red Crown, Hawkeye 1-1 has visual contact with the technical. Beginning attack run now. Martinez listened as Morrison coordinated the attack on the enemy vehicle. The A-10's cannon was particularly effective against light-armored vehicles, and even training ammunition would be sufficient to disable or destroy a technical. The key was engaging the target before it could reach a position where it could threaten American aircraft and ground forces. The distinctive sound of cannon fire came through the radio, followed by Morrison's confirmation. Direct hits on technical vehicle. Target is destroyed. Secondary explosion indicates they were carrying additional ammunition or fuel. The successful engagement eliminated an immediate threat, but Martinez knew that the enemy would continue adapting their tactics and bringing up additional weapons. She needed the additional A-10s to arrive quickly, and she needed the extraction helicopters to reach the area before enemy forces could organize another coordinated assault. Red Crown, this is Hawkeye 1-1. Morrison's voice carried a new tone of urgency. We're observing significant enemy movement on the northern ridgeline. Looks like they're setting up what appears to be a mortar position. If they get that operational, it could threaten the entire valley. Mortar positions were particularly dangerous because they could engage targets from concealed locations using indirect fire. Once established, a mortar crew could deliver continuous fire support to enemy ground forces while remaining hidden from aircraft attempting to provide close air support. Martinez needed that position eliminated immediately. Hawkeye 1-1, you are cleared to engage the mortar position. Priority target. Red Crown, Hawkeye 1-1, beginning attack run on mortar position now. As Morrison initiated her attack on the mortar crew, Martinez realized that the enemy's tactical response was more sophisticated than she had initially assessed. They were systematically attempting to neutralize American air support capabilities while positioning their own heavy weapons to dominate the tactical situation. It was a coordinated, professional military operation designed specifically to counter American advantages in air power and technology. The radio crackled with Morrison's voice. Red Crown, Hawkeye 1-1. Good hits on mortar position, but we're reaching critical fuel levels. Request immediate handoff to follow-on air support. Martinez checked her timeline. The additional A-10s were still 5 minutes out, creating a dangerous gap in air support coverage just as the enemy was demonstrating increased coordination and heavier weapons. She needed to find a way to maintain continuous pressure on enemy forces during the transition period. Hawkeye 1-1, this is Red Crown. Follow-on support is 4 minutes out. Can you maintain station for transition? Red Crown, this is negative. We're at emergency fuel levels and must depart for base immediately. Martinez felt her body go rigid as the implications hit her. The gap in air support would leave Viper 6 completely vulnerable during the most critical period of the engagement, just as enemy forces were positioning heavier weapons and preparing for renewed assault. Her carefully coordinated timeline was falling apart, and she had no immediate solution to maintain continuous coverage. The Tactical Operations Center fell into tense silence as Colonel Martinez stared at the display showing Morrison's flight departing the target area. 4 minutes until the replacement A-10s arrived. 4 minutes when Viper 6 would have no air support against an increasingly organized enemy force. In her 23 years of military service, she had never faced a more critical timing challenge. Rodriguez, get me immediate contact with the inbound A-10 flight, Martinez ordered, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. Ma'am, the new flight is using call sign Devil Flight. Devil 1-1 is flight lead. Devil 1-2 is wingman. They're still 3 minutes out. 3 minutes had become an eternity. Martinez knew that enemy forces would recognize the gap in air support and immediately begin advancing on Viper 6's position. The reconnaissance team would face superior numbers with no way to call in supporting fires, and their wounded soldier could not survive another firefight. The radio crackled with Viper 6's urgent voice. "Red Crown, Viper 6, enemy forces are advancing from multiple directions. We can see at least 20 personnel moving down from the ridge line. Where's our air support?" Martinez grabbed the microphone, knowing she had to maintain morale and confidence, even though the situation was deteriorating rapidly. "Viper 6, this is Red Crown. Additional air support is 2 minutes out. Maintain your position and prepare to mark targets when aircraft arrive on station." Webb approached with communications equipment in hand. "Colonel, I've got General Peterson on the secure line. He says it's urgent." Martinez took the secure phone while continuing to monitor the tactical situation. "General, this is Martinez." "Sarah, I've got some information that might help your situation," Peterson said without preamble. "There's an A-10 conducting a test flight about 15 miles from your area. It's fully armed and available for immediate tasking. The pilot is Major Jennifer Rodriguez, one of your former students from the weapons school." Martinez felt her heart skip a beat. Jennifer Rodriguez had been one of her most exceptional students when Martinez was an instructor at the Air Force Weapons School 5 years earlier. Rodriguez had demonstrated natural ability and aggressive tactical thinking that marked her as a future leader in close air support operations. More importantly, she had flown as Martinez's wingman during several combat deployments, developing the kind of tactical trust that only came from shared combat experience. "General, can you get her redirected to our area immediately?" "She's already en route. I took the liberty of sending her your way when I saw how tight your timing was becoming. Rodriguez should be on station in 90 seconds. 90 seconds. Martinez felt a surge of hope mixed with continued concern. Rodriguez was an exceptional pilot, but arriving alone in a high-threat environment while friendly forces were under direct assault required perfect coordination and exceptional skill. There would be no room for error. "Rodriguez, patch me through to the test flight immediately," Martinez called to her communications specialist. "Ma'am, stand by for contact with Hawk 01. The radio crackled with a familiar voice that brought back memories of complex training missions and combat operations. "Red Crown, this is Hawk 01, Major Rodriguez reporting for duty. I understand you have friendlies in contact requiring immediate air support." Martinez felt a mix of relief and professional pride hearing Rodriguez's voice. The young pilot had matured into an experienced combat leader, and her tone carried the confident competence that Martinez remembered from their time flying together. "Hawk 01, this is Red Crown Actual. Good to hear your voice, Jennifer. We have Viper 6 pinned down in a valley with superior enemy forces advancing on their position. They have one urgent medical and need immediate close air support until extraction arrives." "Red Crown, Hawk 01 copies all. I'm 1 minute out from the target area, fully armed with combat loads. Request immediate target information and rules of engagement." Martinez quickly provided Rodriguez with the tactical situation, friendly locations, and known enemy positions. The briefing was necessarily compressed, but Rodriguez's experience and familiarity with Martinez's operational methods allowed for efficient communication. "Hawk 01 understands. Beginning approach to target area now. Viper 6, this is Hawk 01. Mark your position with colored smoke and prepare to provide target updates." The response from Viper 6 came immediately, with obvious relief in the team leader's voice. "Hawk 01, Viper 6, marking position with red smoke now. Enemy forces approximately 100 meters and closing from northeast and southeast. We really need help down here." "Viper 6, Hawk 01 has visual on red smoke. I can see enemy movement on both flanks. Beginning attack run from the west. All friendlies stay low and behind cover." Martinez listened as Rodriguez coordinated her first attack run. The distinctive sound of the A-10's cannon echoed through the radio, followed by immediate reports from Viper 6. Outstanding hits. Enemy forces are breaking contact and withdrawing to the ridgeline." That was perfect placement. Rodriguez's attack had achieved exactly what Martinez had hoped. The enemy advance had been stopped, and hostile forces were withdrawing to defensive positions. However, Martinez knew that the tactical situation remained fluid and dangerous. The enemy had demonstrated sophisticated coordination and would likely adapt their tactics to counter the renewed air support. Hawk 01, this is Red Crown. Excellent work on first attack. Be advised that enemy forces have heavy weapons positioned on surrounding ridgelines. Recommend caution with low-altitude passes. Red Crown. Hawk 01 copies heavy weapons threat. I can see muzzle flashes from multiple positions, beginning systematic engagement of enemy weapon sites. Rodriguez began a methodical attack pattern, engaging enemy positions with the precision and tactical awareness that Martinez remembered from their training missions. The young pilot had clearly continued developing her skills, demonstrating the kind of tactical flexibility that distinguished exceptional close air support pilots from merely competent ones. Captain Chen approached with updated intelligence information. Colonel, we're tracking significant enemy communications activity. They're requesting reinforcements and talking about bringing up heavier anti-aircraft weapons. This engagement is becoming a much larger operation than we initially assessed. The intelligence confirmed Martinez's concerns about enemy intentions. This wasn't a random engagement with a damaged reconnaissance vehicle. It was a coordinated operation designed to eliminate American intelligence capabilities and demonstrate their ability to counter American air power. The tactical implications extended far beyond the immediate situation. Hawk 01, this is Red Crown, Martinez called. Be advised, intelligence indicates enemy reinforcements and possible upgrade in anti-aircraft threat. Recommend increased altitude and defensive tactics. Red Crown, Hawk 01. I copy the threat upgrade. I'm observing what appears to be a vehicle convoy approaching from the north. Looks like at least 3 vehicles, possibly carrying additional personnel and weapons. The enemy reinforcements changed the tactical equation significantly. Rodriguez would soon face superior numbers and heavier weapons while operating alone until the other A-10s arrived on station. Martinez needed to accelerate the timeline for additional support and extraction helicopters. Webb, get me immediate update on Devil Flight and the extraction helicopters, Martinez ordered. Webb consulted his status boards and communication logs. Colonel, Devil Flight is 30 seconds out. The Black Hawk helicopters are 8 minutes from the target area and requesting immediate tactical update. 30 seconds would bring the additional A-10s into the fight just as enemy reinforcements were arriving. The timing was becoming critical for multiple converging factors: air support transition, enemy reinforcement arrival, and medical evacuation requirements. Everything would happen within the next few minutes. Rodriguez, patch me through to Devil Flight immediately. Ma'am. Devil 11 is standing by on tactical frequency. Devil 11, this is Red Crown. Hawk 01 is currently engaging targets in the valley. Enemy reinforcements are approaching from the north. Coordinate with Hawk 01 for target division and maintain continuous pressure on hostile forces. Red Crown, Devil 11, we have visual on Hawk 01's position. Beginning coordination for combined attack pattern. Martinez listened as Rodriguez and the Devil Flight leader coordinated their attacks to maximize coverage and effectiveness. The 3 A-10s could maintain continuous suppression of enemy forces while dividing responsibility for different target areas. It was exactly the kind of tactical coordination that made American close air support so effective. Red Crown, this is Hawk 01, Rodriguez called. Enemy convoy has stopped about 2 kilometers north of the valley and appears to be unloading personnel and equipment. Looks like they're setting up a command post and heavy weapons position. Request permission to engage. The enemy command post represented both an opportunity and a risk. Destroying it would significantly disrupt enemy coordination and communications, but it would also require Rodriguez to operate outside the immediate close air support area. Martinez had to balance the tactical opportunity against the risk to both the aircraft and the ground forces. Hawk 01, You are cleared to engage enemy command post. Devil Flight will maintain coverage of the immediate target area. Red Crown, Hawk 01 beginning attack run on enemy command post. As Rodriguez engaged the enemy command post, Martinez coordinated the arrival of the medical evacuation helicopters. The Black Hawks would need precise timing and coordination to extract Viper 6 without interference from enemy forces or friendly aircraft operating in the same area. Red Crown, this is Dustoff 7-1, came the voice of the lead evacuation helicopter. We're 5 minutes out from the target area. Request current tactical situation and landing zone information. Martinez provided the helicopter crew with current friendly and enemy positions, ongoing air support activities, and landing zone recommendations. The extraction would require perfect timing and coordination between multiple aircraft operating in a confined area under hostile fire. Viper 6, this is Red Crown, Martinez called. Medical evacuation is 4 minutes out. Prepare your wounded for immediate extraction and designate landing zone with appropriate signals. Red Crown, Viper 6 copies. We're ready for extraction. Our wounded soldier is stable and prepared for movement. We've identified a suitable landing zone about 50 meters west of our current position. The next few minutes would be the most critical of the entire operation. 3 A-10s would provide suppressive fire, while 2 Black Hawk helicopters attempted to land in a confined valley under potential enemy fire. The coordination would require split-second timing and exceptional skill from every pilot involved. Hawk 01, this is Red Crown. Martinez coordinated the final phase of the operation. Dust-off helicopters are 3 minutes out. I need you to coordinate with Devil Flight for landing zone security during extraction. Red Crown, Hawk 01. We'll establish a suppressive fire pattern around the landing zone. Devil Flight will cover the approaches while I provide close escort for the helicopters. Rodriguez's tactical plan was exactly what Martinez would have developed herself. The young pilot had internalized the lessons from their training together and was applying them with the confidence and skill of an experienced combat leader. The radio filled with coordinated transmissions as all elements converged on the target area. Devil Flight engaged enemy positions on the ridge lines. Rodriguez provided close escort for the helicopters, and Viper 6 prepared for immediate extraction. The complex operation required precise timing and exceptional pilot skill. Dustoff 7-1 is beginning approach to the landing zone, came the helicopter pilot's voice. Hawk 01, we need continuous suppression during landing and loading. Dustoff 7-1, Hawk 01. I've got you covered. Beginning suppressive fire pattern now. Martinez listened as Rodriguez coordinated suppressive fire around the landing zone while the Black Hawk helicopters approached through the valley. The sound of rotor blades mixed with cannon fire created an intense audio background that conveyed the complexity and danger of the operation. Dustoff 7-1 is on the ground, came the report. Loading casualties now. Estimate 2 minutes for loading completion. 2 minutes on the ground in a hostile landing zone was an eternity for a helicopter crew. The aircraft would be vulnerable to enemy fire from multiple directions, relying entirely on the A-10s to suppress hostile forces during the critical loading period. Good suppression, called the helicopter crew. We can see enemy forces withdrawing to covered positions. Loading is proceeding smoothly. Rodriguez's suppressive fire was keeping enemy forces pinned down in defensive positions, unable to effectively engage the helicopters during the vulnerable extraction phase. The tactical coordination was working perfectly, demonstrating the effectiveness of well-trained pilots operating with mutual trust and clear communication. Dustoff 7-1, loading complete. Coming up now. Dustoff 7-1, Hawk 01. You're clear to depart. I'll provide escort until you're clear of the target area. Martinez watched the tactical display as the helicopters lifted off with the rescued personnel. The most critical phase of the operation was complete, but the aircraft still needed to clear the area safely while maintaining coordination with ongoing air support activities. Red Crown, this is Dustoff 7-1. came the helicopter pilot's voice. "We're clear of the target area with all personnel. The urgent surgical is stable and will receive immediate medical attention. Mission success." The words "mission success" brought immediate relief throughout the Tactical Operations Center. Viper 6 had been successfully extracted with all personnel alive, and the wounded soldier would receive the medical care necessary for full recovery. The complex coordination of multiple aircraft types in a high-threat environment had achieved its objectives. "Hawk 01, this is Red Crown," Martinez called as the operation reached its conclusion. "Outstanding work on close air support and extraction escort. You've maintained the highest traditions of the A10 community. Red Crown, Hawk 01, just doing what you taught me. It's always an honor to work with Red Crown Operations Center." The personal acknowledgement from Rodriguez brought back memories of training missions, combat operations, and the development of tactical skills that had proven crucial in today's operation. Martinez felt a deep sense of professional satisfaction knowing that her former student had applied those lessons to save American lives. All aircraft. This is Red Crown," Martinez announced the conclusion of the operation. "Mission complete. All friendly personnel extracted safely. Thanks to everyone for exceptional coordination and professional execution." As the various aircraft departed the target area and returned to their home bases, Martinez reflected on the complex series of decisions and coordinated actions that had led to mission success. The gap in air support that had threatened disaster had been filled by exceptional timing, professional skill, and the tactical trust developed through years of training and shared combat experience. Webb approached with final reports from the operation. "Colonel, all aircraft have departed the target area safely. Dustoff 71 reports that the wounded soldier is in stable condition and expected to make a full recovery. Intelligence indicates that enemy forces are withdrawing from the area after taking significant casualties." The successful outcome validated Martinez's tactical decisions throughout the operation. Sending Morrison's flight with training ammunition had provided critical initial suppression. Coordinating the complex timeline for overlapping air support had maintained continuous coverage during the most dangerous phase. Most importantly, Rodriguez's timely arrival had prevented disaster during the crucial gap in support. "Rodriguez, draft a complete after-action report for higher headquarters," Martinez ordered. "I want detailed analysis of enemy tactics, our response coordination, and lessons learned for future operations." This engagement demonstrated sophisticated enemy planning that we need to understand and counter. As the Tactical Operations Center returned to normal monitoring duties, Martinez considered the broader implications of the day's events. The enemy had demonstrated the ability to plan and execute complex operations designed specifically to counter American advantages in air power and technology. Future operations would require enhanced intelligence, improved coordination, and continued development of tactical flexibility. The personal satisfaction of successful mission completion was tempered by the recognition that today's engagement represented an escalation in enemy capabilities and intentions. American forces would need to adapt their tactics and procedures to address increasingly sophisticated threats. However, the operation had also demonstrated the continued effectiveness of American training, technology, and tactical coordination. When properly employed, American air power remained capable of achieving decisive results against even well-organized enemy forces. The key was maintaining the high standards of training and tactical competence that had enabled today's success. Martinez looked at the tactical display showing all friendly aircraft safely returning to base and all rescued personnel receiving appropriate medical care. Whatever challenges lay ahead, she knew that American air crews would continue to demonstrate the skill, courage, and tactical excellence necessary to bring their people home safely.